Dr. Binani, I'm combining two questions for you now because I'm sure I mean, this being such a dynamic law and such an evolving jurisprudence, I think there is a lot which needs to be said on each aspect, and we could possibly have this discussion going on over a period of months, and we'll still not cover many aspects of the IBC law. So my question to you is two urgent questions. One is continuing from where I let off with both Justice Singh and Dr. Sahu about this resolution. Yes, while I agree that by the time they reach the NCLT, many companies are very sick and they hardly have any assets. My question to you is, as a resolution professional, you will be in a better position to even advise us on this. Do you think that this lack of sufficient resolution is possibly a function of time because it's 330 days? Do you think in some cases where the asset NPA is a much larger amount, do you think having a larger time, would help in achieving a resolution? Number one. Do you think, therefore, that the amount of time available for resolution should possibly increase or decrease based on the stakes involved in that particular asset? My second question is more generic. What do you think are the challenges a resolution professional faces under the code, and how do you think it can be made more efficient? Dr. Binani.
Thank you for those questions, quite close to my heart. But at the outset, let me do the honors. I pay my respect to Justice A.P. Singh Saab, who's been very kind enough to come in this Saturday afternoon. Very good afternoon, sir. And my role model, whom he doesn't know that, but I've been following it up with him and close. That is Dr. M.S. Sahu. I derive a lot of energy, motivation, truthfulness, governance from Dr. Sahu. And whatever little I have been able to do is, keeping him in front of my eyes always. He always has said, and I'm borrowing those words from him, that insolvency profession is a profession of professions. And it's a very noble profession. So we are here to serve the society. And what I said is also enjoined to the answers that I'll post to your questions. So that's how we as insolvency professionals have been looking at IBC. But the star performer, not only of the day, but I'm sure of many, many years to come with his onset journey is Mr. Akant Mittal. So let us all put our hands together to congratulate him. Akant, I was going through the book. I got it day before yesterday. I laid my hands yesterday night, and believe you me, I could not lay my eyes off from the book. It was
Thank you so much.
engaging. And before I really went into the book, I saw the cover. Cover is very, very attractive. But Justice Suryakant writing a foreword for the book is immensely gratifying for the book. I was reading through some of the lines, which I just would like to take one opportunity to read. Akant Mittal does much to fill this void. Then he goes on to write that his book is replete with innovative interpretations, which evinces that the author is free from the cognitive burden of previous failed laws. I think a wonderful phraseology used by such an illustrious justice. So congratulations to you, Akant. It doesn't come easy, believe you me. And Dr. Sahu,
Certainly hasn't.
Dr. Sahu writing for anyone, I know how particular he is. And he's written that I compliment Mr. Mittal for this significant contribution. He is one person who uses his words very, very carefully. Significant contribution to the fertile insolvency space. And he wishes you all success. And so many other things have been written in the book. I immediately went to the limitation chapter, Dr. Sahu and Justice Singh. And because that subject in itself is so intriguing. And I really saw that he's even dealt with a small case law, which is very important, about demand notices. He actually has gone on to say that the last invoice date should be the date from where the law of limitation should be counted. Justice Singh has been a part of this. So Akant has taken a lot of pain, it seems, to go through each of the case laws. Congratulations. And congratulations to you, Mr. Malik and Nilufar, for really taking this up. My best wishes to EBC. And ma'am, the questions that you posed to me, as insolvency profession, as I was mentioning, it's a profession of professions. I think a lot of responsibility and power, let me use that word in the responsible sense, has been endowed on an insolvency professional. I must say that if you see some of the corporates, getting resolutions or seeing the light of the day, a lot of it depends on the work put in or on the efforts put in from the front by the insolvency professionals. So therefore, when you say that do you need more than 330 days for larger cases, my answer candidly would be no. Actually, we don't need inertia in the beginning. At times, I have seen in cases that, am I audible, Niloufar?
Yes, yes.
At times I've seen in larger cases or in smaller cases, cases are all big or small, doesn't matter, believe you me. Dr. Sahu has also mentioned in many forums that company rescue is a company rescue. Even if you're rescuing a debt size of 100 crore vis-a-vis a debt size of 10,000 crore, you're adding value to the economy, workmen, profession, everybody. So size is not important, Haripriya ma'am. What is important is the actionables is defined in regulation 40A of the CIRP regulation. If the insolvency professional can keep a hawk's eye on those timelines and is able to strictly adhere to it, there is no reason why we will not be able to bring justice within those timelines. The more timeline you give us, the more inertia occurs from all the other stakeholders, if not the insolvency professional alone. So here, if you see a lot of judgments which has come from IBBI, it has said that if your various stakeholders are not acting in accordance with the law, you are the one who's got to drive them hard. So, it's just not, for example, just for an example's sake, if the COC is taking some time to take decisions, do you just sit and say that, okay, I have put it on the table and it's the COC's turn to react or act on it? It's not that way. You've got to take the mantle on your hand and make sure that decision making is done. It's yes or no is not important at those times. It's important that you decide, you discuss, and you come to a conclusion. Many a times I have seen in this law that the things go haywire once no decision is taken, or once the decisions are taken very belatedly. So therefore, it's very, very pertinent that Akant has also in his book led quite a bit. He has delved on the timelines. So it's very, very important that insolvency professionals should not act like a Hitler. A lot of times we've seen that the cases are also going bad because he's not giving the reasons as to what are the reasons behind his actionables. It's very important that he gives opportunity of being heard at his own doorstep rather than people wanting to go to NCLT. And therefore, this question of collation versus adjudication for a RP becomes very important. Dr. Sahu and Justice, he's there or not? I'm not seeing it. Justice Sir is there. So they've mentioned that RP is a collator, but I guess sometimes you also need to wear to the shoes of an adjudicator. So apart from that, since presence of Dr. Sahu is here and a lot of people are writing on the chat also, I must mention that the biggest problem that we are facing is Dr. Sahu, that there is no fund in the company, there are no resources in the company. What happens is all of a sudden when insolvency creeps in, or I am using the word creep in with a objective in mind, when it creeps in, because it takes a lot of time now, the cases getting admitted is not so easy. So it actually dawns in, and by that time when it actually strikes hard, there is no resources in the company at all. Business automatically just stops. There is no cash flow, there is no fund flow, leave alone cash flow, there is no fund flow also. So adherence to all the laws of the land, and even finding money to merely appoint a valuer or do certain things which is mandatory in law becomes a nightmarish activity. If I may say, it becomes an ordeal for the RP. So I don't know. We in the past had discussed that there would be some fund which may be thought to be instituted by the IBBI or any other regulator that Dr. Sahu must be discussing with the ministries. But yes, it's very much required, because we as insolvency professionals know it adds to the CIRP cost, but legal professionals, etc., will not have the wherewithal or will have the mindset to wait till the end of 2-3 years to get back their money. So that becomes a very major hindrance. I know time is a constant. I would have loved to speak more, but some other time. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Binani. I mean, that was very helpful, and we are glad to know that the time frame is adequate. And we really hope we have more resolution professionals who are both proactive and committed like you, and not like Hitler, like you rightly pointed out. I guess in the few cases, even I've had an experience, I think we would welcome resolution professionals like you who are proactive, and the objective should be to somehow try and see if it can be resolved at the earliest. And yes, and not just sit back and wait for the COC to constantly get back. Thank you, Dr. Binani.